I thought we'd take a look at how I made this handy dandy little brush holder. It's great, it doesn't take up a lot of room, it stores a lot of brushes. Easy to make, very inexpensive to make. I'll show you how, and most of it was scrap. What I have here is some 3mm ply. I think this is birch, not sure. And I have set my fence for 4 inches. Or about 100mm. It's not critical. Safety glasses and ear protection, very important. Next thing we have to do is we have to decide how we're going to break this up. Now I want mine to be about 10 inches long, so I set my stop for a little under 10 inches. It's not critical. Safety glasses and ear protection. Now I have my pattern for drilling marked out and my pattern for cutting marked out. We'll go cut this out on the bandsaw, and you could use a jigsaw, and then I'll drill these on the drill press. I recommend you tape these together so that they don't move around on you when you're cutting them and when you're drilling them. The best way to do this is to cut inside the line, and then we'll sand it and finish it to the line. I like to set up a backstop on my drill press so that I can get them evenly, at least front to back. They'll all be the same distance this way. Okay, now that we have one row drilled, now I put this piece on here to prevent tear out. You get pretty nasty tear out when there's nothing backing it up, but on these last two holes I backed them up and it didn't tear it out. The problem with that is, of course, you've got to move this every time you drill. So now I'll set up for the next row. Okay, we'll set up for the third row. Okay, well, we've got our holes drilled. And I have noticed, and this might just be me, but the distance between the holes this way, it doesn't seem to be as important as the fact that they're lined up in rows. That's where the jig comes in handy. And I still got a fair amount of tear out, even though I was backing it up and moving the back up most of the time. But it reduced it considerably. This will be hidden, however. When you take them apart, you'll find the second level looks good. So from the top, everything looks fine. It's just on the bottom where it looks a bit rough. We're going to move back to the bench now. Now we need some spacers to space these up. And I'm going to use, you can use anything that you've got, any kind of scraps that you've got around. I'm going to use plywood because I have a lot of plywood scrap. So I'll be right back. I'll go find some and we'll move on from here. Okay, well, I'll go cut these pieces out on the bandsaw. In order to make these all even, I'm going to cut the tip of these scrolls off at an even distance so that they'll all be the same. Some of them had, they were a little ragged up here on the end, so if I cut them all off to the same length, then they'll look even. So I'm going to go do that. I'll be right back. It's time to glue it up. But we're not going to glue the bottom piece on. We're just going to use it as a guide to help us line up the other pieces. And you probably noticed that it's a little rough. These parts are a little rough. Well, that's a later step, cleaning those up. I'm just checking to be sure that everything is going to line up okay. It looks pretty good. So I'll put a little glue on here. I'm not using any special glue. It's just a wood glue. Just a regular furniture type glue. Nothing special. I suppose you could use PVA for this. Wood glue is a little stronger and it sets up a little quicker. So I'll line these up again. That looks pretty good. I'll glue the next level on. Now it's critical that you don't block the holes. It certainly doesn't have to be perfect at this stage because we're going to clean it up. But you don't want to block the holes because that will definitely be a problem later on. Now I'm going to use my finish nailer to hold these together while the glue sets and just speed the process up. You could clamp them. I wouldn't recommend trying to drive nails by hand. I just think that you would have some problems with that. And yes, you will be able to see those when it's done, but it'll be minimal, and they could be filled if you're really concerned about it. Now it's time, when the glue dries, we'll do the shaping. We'll trim this to make sure that these are square, and we will shape this so that it's even and symmetrical. I'm going to let the glue set up before I do that, so we'll see you tomorrow. For you, it's only been a few seconds, but for me, it's the next day. So here's our project. Now, bear in mind that we didn't glue it to the base. It eventually was going to go on here like this, but not yet, because first we have to shape this. And remember, we didn't bring it down to the line. So now we're going to take it down to the line. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I've got to move the camera, so I'll be right back. Well, once again, we need eye and ear protection for this. And I'm hooked up to dust collection. These things make a lot of dust. I think that's pretty good, close enough. Now, it's time to glue this to this. Once again, I think I'll put a couple finishing nails in it. So I'll get the compressor going. I'll be right back. Okay, at this point, you'll notice, or may or may not notice, that the sides are not exactly even. Well, you just go over onto the table saw or your miter saw and true it up. Just trim it a little bit on the sides and the back, and it'll be perfectly even. So I'm going to go do that, and I'll be right back. All we need to do now is a little light sanding, and we can put some finish on it.